Final Fantasy VII is the best Final Fantasy. I disagree. I've never thought Final Fantasy VII was the best Final. Because here's the thing: the people that I noticed who were like Final Fantasy VII is the best Final Fantasy ever. Like, I would say about 70% of those people. You ask them, well, have you ever played any of the earlier Final Fantasies that were on the Super Nintendo? And most of them
And
will
the
say
answer will be
no.
no.
And I'm like, how the fuck do you know that that's the best Final Fantasy when you didn't play any of the other ones? You know,
For me, Final Fantasy VII was one of the first Final Fantasies I played, but it's not my favorite. I consider it okay, but not that high up,
I mean, I'm gonna keep it
even
real.
among other Final Fantasies.
Final Fantasy VII isn't even the best Final Fantasy that Square Enix has ever made. Okay, it's not even the best RPG SquareSoft ever made. I would say the best RPG SquareSoft ever made was Chrono Trigger.
And that was a dream team moment right there.
Yeah, we're never gonna see that level of people coming together to create something amazing again. But to me, like when someone says, "Hey, what's a great um,
RPG to get into.
what's like well just the what's the best Squaresoft RPG?" I would say it's Chrono Trigger. I mean, I think Chrono Trigger is better than and I know a lot of people have a lot of love for Mario for Super Mario RPG, but Super Mario RPG is kind of simplistic. It's kind of overly simplistic. Um, which kind of brings it down. Like it's like if you want if someone said, "Hey, what SNES game could I get for my kid to get them into RPGs that's not too difficult and has a decent difficulty curve and, is easy to get into?" I would say Super Mario RPG. But if you're talking about an RPG that's just like masterfully made by Squaresoft, Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger every day. Cause
Speaking of, real quick question. You heard the people talking about Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross being remade, right?
I heard about Chrono Cross being remade. They need to leave Chrono Trigger alone. Cause here's the thing. Everyone jumped on Rockstar's back when they got Grove Street Games to port their shitty mobile versions of GTA to consoles 10 years ago, and then again now with the definitive editions. But people forget, Square Enix did the same thing with all their Final Fantasies. Remember when they ported over their Final Fantasies in Chrono Trigger, but it was the shitty mobile port? They couldn't even be bothered to actually put it into an engine that was optimized to be on consoles and PC. It was a shitty mobile port.
The DS one is not bad, but still, I would say that if the other versions I could
No,
actually want that.
no. When I say mobile port, I don't mean the DS or 3DS port. I mean it was a port of some shit that was on the smartphone.
Oh god.
Yeah.
That's what I was worried about.
I know nowadays everyone thinks mobile just means handheld gaming devices. No, mobile. When I say mobile, I mean specifically a smartphone. I don't mean like a handheld gaming device. Okay. Um. But anyway. But before we go any further, let's have everyone introduce themselves, and then I'll give you. I'll lay out the queue, the roster, and then we'll dive into these games. And I mean, not into these games, into these topics. Starting with the ladies first.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to the best podcast. I am Joey Moonstar, and not again! Blizzard? Activision Blizzard, really?
It's bad. It's bad. Get out your
Not again.
get out your pitchforks and your torches, folks. It's gonna get bad. I'm just letting you know. It's really bad.
I found something on YouTube that just made me say, Not again.
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is this: Activision Blizzard. Someone at Activision Blizzard literally stole food out of babes' mouths, and that's all I'll say about it until we get to the story. But anyway,
Yeah. Oh God.
so Kenoshi, go ahead and introduce yourself.
It's Kenoshi about Nita here to say that yet again, the gaming industry proved that they have no standards. How in the heck does Tales of Arise win Best RPG? How in the heck does that happen?
Because
I'll
Namco
tell you how that
Bandai,
happens.
because Namco Bandai probably wrote a big fat check to the Game Awards, and the Dorito Pope was like, "It, you have written the check, and so it shall be done." That's how that shit gets RPG of the year. No, I'm not saying Tales of Arise is terrible, but it is a hot
Is
mess.
vanilla?
It's a hot mess. No, the game, like, okay, there's certain games that you play and you realize that there's a good game in there, but it needed like another year in the oven. And
Oh God.
Yeah.
Tales of Arise is one of
It's
those
one of
games.
those.
It needed another year in the oven.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Because there's all these gameplay systems. There's all these gameplay systems that have no synergy between them. Like every other Tales game, even the ones that I don't like, there's a synergy. There's a synergy between the gameplay systems. You know, I'm going to use Tales of Symphonia as an example because I think everyone here has, if they haven't played it, they're familiar with it. Every single gameplay system in Tales of Symphonia is interconnected with other things you do in the game. Like they're all interconnected. There are gameplay systems in Tales of Arise that if you never touched it, you wouldn't be missing anything in the game. And that's not good game design for an RPG. That's not good game design for anything, but especially for an RPG where gameplay systems are just kind of like just in there, just taking up space just because. And the fact that they would make that game of the year, I'm just like, really? Okay. But before we go any further, it's Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters, and let's get to it. So we have
What's on the menu?
Yeah, we have quite a few topics, most of which are going to make some people angry, but I don't care. My job is not to make people feel good. My job is to point out bullshit and, you know, call attention to it. So without much ado, let's get to it. So we have a array of topics. The first one is, I guess, good news for the people who sued CD Projekt Red. Apparently, they're in talks to settle the lawsuit that some of the investors said, where they felt like they were misled by the developers and the studio, because basically they were like, look, you basically said all this shit that this game was going to have and it was going to be at a certain level of quality, and you put it out and it didn't, and we lost a lot of money. Well, they're in settlements to settle that suit. What do you guys think about that? What are your thoughts on this potential?
I'm actually curious of how far this will go, because if anything, it might lead to something more interesting, at least with other companies. But that's likely a tale for another time.
Well, the investors sued. I mean, now if the people who bought the game sued and said, "Hey, this game is fundamentally broken at launch, and we deserve recompense," that would be a completely different thing. But investors who put money into an endeavor, being basically hoodwinked, bamboozled, lied to,
Suckered.
you know, in order to get a product out that like CD Projekt Red, like the shit that we saw a few weeks ago from Rockstar, where they were like, we did not expect to see this level of lack of polish from this game. Bullshit. Bullshit. No company launches, and this isn't just in the video game industry, this is any business. No company puts out a product that is costing them millions of dollars to make, or has the potential to earn them millions of dollars, is going to put it out and not be aware of issues that it has. And if they say that they didn't know about it, they're lying to you. Okay?
If it got released, likely.
Okay? That's some shit that they're saying because it sounds like they're taking responsibility, but they aren't.
I was about to say maybe they'll learn their lesson.
No, they won't
More
learn their
likely
lesson
they
until they lose a lot of money. Because
Yeah.
companies, there's an old saying that ancient saying from ancient Egypt that a young boy's brains are in his buttocks, and the only time he'll listen is when you beat him, right? Well, companies are very similar. Their brains are in their money. They don't
Yeah.
learn a lesson until they lose money.
Yep.
They lose money, then we need to make a change. They don't learn until they lose money. All right.
Yep.
But anyway, so you have any thoughts on it, Kadoshi, before I give my opinion?
Well, maybe try not to make a broken product, but at the same time, they made money hand over fist because it sold relatively a lot.
13 million copies.
13 million copies.
Yeah, 13 million copies. And let's say like 2 million of those were people, they had to make refunds on that. That's still a lot of money for a $60, $50 game.
That's still 11 million copies that are, sitting in people's sitting on people's shelves.
Well, let me do the math, because I'm gonna take out the 13 million sold. I'm gonna subtract 2 million. Let's give a conservative estimate. Say up to 2 million people returned that game. That's still 11 million, right? 11 million times $60. That's still $66 million.
Yep.
That's still
Good chunk of
plenty.
change.
That's still a lot of money.
But nobody's gonna learn.
No, I'm sorry. No,
Consumers
I
aren't.
lied. That's not $66 million. That is
606.
that's 660. Sorry, that's $660 million. So that's almost $500 million. And they probably spent, they probably spent $200 million on Cyberpunk 2077. So they still turned a profit of $400 million.
Yeah, and nobody's gonna learn from it. The publishers aren't gonna learn. They're gonna pay off their loan sharks. Protect themselves from getting beat to death with metal bats. The consumers aren't gonna learn because CD Projekt Red's gonna announce a new game and they're gonna be like, "This is gonna be the greatest thing ever."
No, their reputation took a hit. What CD Projekt Red's going to have to do, and this is on them, is they're going to have to. What they're going to do is they're going to release. They're going to release the next gen versions of Cyberpunk 2077, and the game is going to be closer to what it should have been a year ago on the next gen versions, because by that point they will have had like 18 months to fix a game. They should have delayed. Really, at best, they should have delayed that game a whole year. Or even like 2 years.
Yep.
because Cyberpunk 2077 is not a good RPG. It's a fun game to just run around in, but it's not a good RPG. Which is kind of sad, really, but you know, it is what it is. So, anything else you guys want to add before we move on to the next one?
I think we're all right. Even if I have to groan about how right that is.
All right. Next topic. So this was a big one. I had to add it once I found out that there was more evil was afoot at Activision Blizzard. So we're gonna go from terrible
Here we go again.
to absolutely morally reprehensible. For those of you, I was in an off air. We were having an off air chat, and I said the most evil thing in the world is capitalism.
And then you were proven wrong?
No, I think I was proven right, because the reason that Activision Blizzard has created this environment is due to capitalism, because there are no controls in place, and as long as people are making money, they let everything slide because, hey, I got my money. Basically, the impetus of capitalism, it should be, fuck you, I got mine, you better get yours. That's the rule of capitalism. All right. You know, capitalism is built on exploitation. Okay? You know, look in America, everything was built off of exploitation. Okay? You know, the people who came here to America, you know, most of them were poor, and they were being shipped over here by wealthy people and put into a huge amount of debt, and they'd have to work that shit off. But that wasn't enough. So then they started exploiting the natives, taking their land and killing them and genocide. But that wasn't enough. So then they made the slave trade, which was regional, into a global mass market thing. Free labor. You know, all you had to do was beat the shit out of people, break up families, forcibly convert people into religions that they could give a fuck less about, take away their names, everything. All of this so that people could make money. So, you know.
And now we come into how Activision Blizzard does this kind of evolution.
Oh yeah, so basically the first thing is Activision Blizzard has once again proven that they are an absolute asshole of a company.
I don't know if it's. I wouldn't say. I mean, yeah, you can definitely make the argument that it's capitalism, but I think there's also just something to be said about the fat kid just doesn't know when to put the cookie down.
I mean, yeah, but that's still consumption. That's consuming. That's consumerism. It's this never-ending hunger to have more. I need to have more.
And to be careful of a quote, I think that quote would be, for those guys, in their sense, that greed is good to them.
Yeah, but anyway, so Activision Blizzard, as we all know, Activision Blizzard has, you know, the covers have been pulled back, and people have seen just the level of fucked upness that's going on at that company. On both sides, Activision and Blizzard. They're both, you know, they're equally fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, the depravity is probably a lot grosser than some imagined already.
Oh yeah, I mean, we thought the whole Bill Cosby rape room thing was bad. We thought the whole, you know, making women work, take on the workload of some of their male counterparts, basically, and being paid less, was bad. We thought them basically doing a bait and switch to their QA department. So basically, here's what they did to the QA department in order to make them work harder to QA their new Call of Duty that came out, right?
They promised the bonus, didn't they?
Oh, it's worse. Like okay, so these people were making like 1710. They promised them a bonus of 150, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna open up a new studio, and your guys will get a pay raise of 150 an hour, which 150 an hour isn't shit." Okay, like literally, if you ran out of toilet paper at your guys' houses, and you had to get a case of toilet paper and all you had is 150, you wouldn't even be able to buy toilet paper to wipe your ass with 150.
I was about to say, that's barely enough to buy one roll.
You can't, unless I don't know any place that you can buy. Maybe a gas station, I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. So
that's kind of the cheap stuff that feels like sandpaper.
Yeah, even the cheap toilet paper isn't 150. Like literally, hey, I got 150. Get the fuck out of my store. Like that's basically what they say to you. So you can't even wipe your ass with 150. Okay, literally, it's you SOL. Either you might have to go for a case of stink finger, and not in the way you might think. But
oh god.
But irregardless, or sorry, that's not even a word. Regardless of whatever's going on, so we thought that was bad enough. As you know, the workers at Activision Blizzard said, "We're enough. We're gonna try and unionize. We're gonna get organized. We're gonna unionize." And they should unionize because after all this, like people are like, "Oh, people in white collar jobs don't need to unionize."
Oh, F that.
Looking at this shit at Activision Blizzard, I dare someone to say that with a straight face and be like, "Oh no, those people don't need a union."
Actually, I could see a few people saying that, though those guys got money flowing out of their pockets.
No, let me tell you something. Those people at Activision Blizzard definitely need to unionize. They need help.
Yeah, right? I agree.
They need,
as I said, the only people that I think that would say no to your union are the people that have money flowing out of their pockets like water.
And the thing is like, this is why the people at the top year over year have given themselves massive bonuses. Whereas, Activision's developers, except for the people at like the top and the mid level, like they're the trench level developers, the one who do the hard grunt work so that their games come out and they make money. Those poor bastards, I think like Activision Blizzard's in like the lower 30% of what developers get paid. Like it's a joke. But they don't need to unionize. Well, apparently Activision Blizzard's reacts to the unionization talk with anti-unionization talk.
They're still in conversation about how to work this out.
Well,
they're trying their best to keep the unions apart.
Well, the workers need to get organized, and then they have to do a vote, and they vote to unionize. Then after they vote to unionize, they have to organize so that they can get a unionization board formed so that they can talk to management. Now, the thing is that they need a union. I think here, like, because here's the thing: everyone in America is like, well, we can't have the unions in the video game industry. If you go to Europe, they have unions in Europe for developers, and those games come out fine. So, the argument that somehow the games are going to get more expensive and we won't be able to come, it's like, that's all bullshit. The thing is that these companies want to continue to pad their bottom line at the expense of their employees, and give themselves massive bonuses at the expense of their employees. So,
I mean, at this rate, I wouldn't be surprised if they did the pull the rug for under people at this rate.
Well, I mean, it is what it is.
They didn't do that to the guys that were doing the phones all that time, right?
I mean, they're willing to fire anybody at this point, but it gets worse because we thought that was as low as the floor was for Activision Blizzard. But wait, it gets worse. Now, as you all know, a lot of workplaces have become more inclusive and more accepting of various family practices. Some places will have, you know, uh, rooms where nursing mothers can go and pump their
Oh
breasts
God.
for
I
breast milk.
I can see
It's a
where this
quiet
is
room where they can
going.
pump their breasts for breast milk, and then have a little fridge so they can put it in there so that they can keep it fresh so they can go home and feed their children. Well, Activision Blizzard, you thought that floor couldn't get any lower? It did. There's a hole. You pulled the rug out. There's a hole in the floor. It gets lower. Apparently, some jackass or jackasses. This sounds like it was a ring. Decided to go into the women's nursing room and steal the breast milk out of the little fridge that was in there.
Wow.
Hence why I said earlier, they literally stole the food out of babes' mouths. Okay?
Yeah,
Um,
I was hoping that it was. I'm just hoping that this is something that just that happened long ago. But if it's recent, oh God,
it doesn't
when did
matter if
that
it happened.
happen?
No, this happened recently. Because think about it. Most
Oh
companies, most
God.
companies, most companies didn't start really having stuff like that until the last 5 or 6 years.
I
Like
was
Yeah.
having like
thinking at
rooms
least in
for
this.
women who are nursing or have children, like have babies that they're nursing, having areas
I
where
was
they can
hoping it was
go.
in this year. That's what I was hoping for.
No, shit, 5, 6 years is recent.
Oh
Shit. But
yeah.
anyway, so yes, this happened. Female Activision Blizzard employees who uh were, availing themselves of those
Nursing.
facilities would go in there and find that their shit was gone. So, it's not
Yeah.
enough. It's not enough that Activision Blizzard statistically pays their female employees less than their male counterparts. They're which is monetarily stealing food out of their children's mouths. They have to physically steal food from their children's mouths too.
Well,
Um,
if anything, that's gonna make a whole the week a lot easier.
and this is the company that Bobby Kotick has been the head of for 30 years. So who do you think created this atmosphere where this type of shit can pass?
Great. We're gonna have to. Thank you. Um, I got. I better stop myself if I, before I make some more bad jokes at this point because I'm trying to, I'm trying to lighten this mood a little, but yeah,
No, this is
Activision
righteous
Blizzard.
indignation time. If there ever was a time to
Yeah,
curse somebody out and be like, "You dirty, rotten son of a bitch," this is the
yeah,
time.
I, yeah. I hope that at this rate, the only thing I see that could clean this out entirely with all the scum at the top is a full out bankruptcy of the entire company. Activision Blizzard,
Well,
the whole lot.
Activision Blizzard isn't going bankrupt anytime soon, but I will say that it definitely needs to. All of the people at the top need to be fired. All of the board, all of them.
Yeah.
Starting at Bobby Kotick going down. All of the senior board members, just senior executive branch, just needs to be taken the fuck out. And on their way out, they need to be lined up in front of a brick wall, and they need to go. They're in California, and I know they have a large homeless population in California. They need to find the drunkest, stinkiest homeless person and get them to pee in some bottles. Take that urine and put it in a squirt gun and squirt all those motherfuckers down on their way out, so that they smell like old, drunk, homeless hobo piss. Just to really humiliate them on their way out. It's like, you ain't shit, get the fuck out. um,
Yeah.
cause they're terrible human beings. Just really, like, the definition of a terrible human being. These people are terrible human beings.
These guys are snakes in human flesh.
That's being mean to snakes, because snakes are useful. They keep down they snakes keep down various
Rodent populations.
pests. You know,
Yeah.
some of them are downright gorgeous. You know,
Just that.
that's not being charitable to snakes. These people are pieces of human excrement that serve no purpose. In suits. But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this, Kenoshi? What?
These people are still gonna make money. That's my
Yeah,
thoughts. They're
yeah.
gonna leave. They're gonna get their golden parachute, and they're gonna keep making money. And
I agree.
they're gonna shake your finger at you and laugh at you and be like, "Haha, we're gonna keep making money. We might make money somewhere else, and there's nothing you can do about it."
You know, normally I would agree with you, except
this
Don
has been
Matrick
going
did
on.
the same thing, and his ass was gone. Like he went to Zynga, he ran that shit into the ground too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but we see this in politics. We see this in entertainment, where people have been doing some vile things, or have been shown to be doing some vile things for the past few years. They don't go their crimes go unpunished. They get paid and they just leave. They disappear. It's like, don't show your face in this town again, and we won't throw you in the old pokey.
At this point, I would settle for them not showing their face anymore. I would like at this point, yes. Like. Here's the thing: Bobby Kotick is rich. Okay, he can retire and nothing's gonna happen. Those people at the top, they're gonna retire. They might find someplace else. They'll disappear for a while. But here's the thing: they don't need to be at that company. They need to go. I don't care where they go. They can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. But they don't need to be there. Okay,
Yeah.
because at this point, like, people wonder why Activision Blizzard's games have been shit for years. Because if you're an employee and you're working at a company where this type of shit is happening,
so much.
like, how the fuck can if let's say let's use some empathy here. Okay, you're a mother. Okay, you have to work because it's California. It's expensive to live there. Okay, you have a degree in development, like software development. You are nursing your child. You like in the middle of the day, you're like, oh, I'm leaking. Okay, I need to use my breast pump. Put it in this refrigerator, and you're thinking, I'm gonna get this shit on my way out the door. Go home, feed my child. You go in there, your shit's gone because someone stole it. Okay. On top of all the other bullshit of you having more work heaped upon you because some fucking Chad bro motherfucker who's a man, who you're probably more talented than because you do so much more programming because you're doing other people's work on top of your own, is playing Call of Duty instead of doing his fucking job. And then they're gonna steal the fucking bottles of breast milk out the damn nursing room. Why the fuck? How the fuck can you expect this person to give their 100% on a game and the games to be great and the code to be tight when you got to deal with that shit?
I was gonna say that's as likely as hitting the lottery at this point.
I mean, you can't consider any of this shit to be
Totally accurate.
well, you can't expect someone to give you their 100% when they don't feel like they're going to be respected or treated with any modicum of respect at work. But what were we going to say, Kenoshi? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, I wasn't gonna say anything.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, people wonder why Activision Blizzard's games have been trash for the last 10, 15, 20 years. Because if you have a work environment like this, no wonder your games are such trash. I mean, personally, I'd be afraid to work at Activision Blizzard. Like, if someone said, "Hey, we'll pay you $150,000 a year to work at Activision Blizzard," I'd be like, "Nah, nah, the money The money's not worth the hassle. Because there just comes a point where it's like, peace of mind is sometimes worth more than peace of mind is sometimes worth more than money.
And
Because
seeing how much they trade peace of mind for money.
I mean, sometimes sometimes you can have a shitty job, but you get paid enough to where the money overcomes the bullshit. But sometimes the bullshit isn't worth the amount of money. It's like, no. No, this, sir, is a bridge too far. But that's my own personal opinion. So yeah. Anything else you guys want to add before we move on to the next topic, which is bad games that aren't so bad? Nothing? Okay then. Our next topic are bad games that aren't so bad. So, I came up with this topic because I was recently playing Quest 64. I come back to the game every 3 or 4 years just to see, is it really that bad? And I would say that the negatives, um, the negatives of that game are all come down to, in my mind, to the hardware limitations of the system it was on, because there's actually some good ideas in the game. Um, in my opinion, uh, like combat is actually really interesting. The music is actually really good in the game. There's a lot of really cool stuff in the title, but the problem is, like, they only had what, like 34 megabytes to do it, and
Yeah.
you just like no one, like, for the type of game that they really wanted to make Quest 64, they would have needed far more cartridge size than what would have been available commercially at the time. So, or even industrially. So, the hardware limitations hurt that game, but there are some redeeming features to Quest 64. For example, like I said, the combat system is actually pretty in depth. Um, the like you don't have levels in Quest 64. Instead, you gain experience by doing things. So if you want your character's health to grow, you have to take hits for damage, and your health will grow. If you want your character's agility to grow, dodge attacks in combat. If you want your character's offense to grow, their physical offense to grow, you hit enemies with your staff. Like, it's like, these are really interesting gameplay concepts. The problem is, once again, um, it's very limited because of the hardware at the time. And the music is really good. Like, the final boss music in Quest 64, which is called the Maman boss battle. Actually, pretty cool. It's like they were saving up. They're like, okay, we know we got to have a kick-ass boss theme, and they do. Like, what you would expect from an RPG. The boss theme is actually pretty damn kick-ass. Problem, once again, the limitations of the system. So, with that being said, are there any games that people consider to be bad that you guys played? You're like, this is actually pretty good, and the
So
negatives are not as bad as people would have you believe.
for me, I would say the trickiest one for me to say that the 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 adventure the bar adventure game, the bar RPG game that you have to cook your EXP in order to gain EXP.
People say that's a bad game. I've never heard that.
Well, at least in a sense it seems like it to me.
All right.
At least by the reviews I saw. But
Okay. All right. I was wondering because I was like, I had never heard of that being considered a bad game. Like, I've heard that. Another example that I could give is I've heard that Final Fight for the SNES is a bad game, but I don't really think it's a bad game. I think it's limited. I don't think it's bad.
hmm.
Like,
The other one I would say that might be there, at least as far as out there, would probably be some of the would probably be some of the Mario games, or at least the Mario the new Super Mario ones. They're not bad. They're repetitive. They repeat at times, but they're not terrible games. This is far as I know.
I mean, they're solid.
Yeah.
I won't say that they're. I won't say that they're. Like, I won't say that the new Super Mario Brothers games really hold a candle to the golden age, in my opinion, of the 2D Mario games, which is like, Mario 2, Mario 3, Super Mario World. I think the first new Super Mario Brothers is a little basic.
They
New Super Mario Brothers 2 is even more basic. I think the Wii game is kind of. I know a lot of people like that game. I thought it was kind of like I was underwhelmed, but I could see where people would like it because it had the whole you can play with other people on the same screen at the same time thing, which I guess to a lot of people is a cool thing. I was never really that into it, but I know some people were. Um, but that's my own personal opinion. Um, Kanoshi, do you have any games that you were like, man, this game's kind of like people say it's bad, but I've played it a lot and it's really not that bad. It's there's some redeeming features in this game that make it worth playing.
For me that'd be Metroid Other M. That game is heavily flawed, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed uh I enjoyed how they used the limitation of the Wiimote, although there are some, the first person idea probably it could have been fleshed out a little bit better or been removed. And I don't think the story, especially after playing a chunk of Fusion, I don't think the story is nearly as bad as people say it is, but the writing, I still say the writing wasn't particularly that great, but it was still interesting nonetheless. If those ideas would have been fleshed out better, I think it could have been more interesting.
All right, okay, that's fair. Um, Jewel, do you have another one?
I said Mario. I said Adventure Bar for the 3DS. I think that's all I got. At least as far as the ones I know on the spot.
Okay, I have one more game that I like. A lot of people like to hate on. Hell, I've hated on it, and then I went back and recently replayed it, and I realized it's actually not that bad. I'm about to say this, and you guys are going to be shocked. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Um,
Ain't
it,
that the one that was used for Final Fantasy for babies?
yeah, it basically was Final Fantasy for because they were like, oh, you people in America are too stupid to know how to play a JRPG, so we're going to give you this easy JRPG in order to like my first RPG in order to ease you into JRPGs. Now, to be fair, there's nothing inherently wrong with creating a kind of easier RPG for people. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, right? I mean, Mario RPG, like the Paper Mario series, like the vast majority of those games, except for maybe Thousand Year Door, which some of those more difficult special attacks and time to attacks and perfect counters, those games can be kind of hard. But like the base ones are kind of like, well, this is like my first RPG kind of stuff going on. Um, but here's the kicker, right?
Mhm.
Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. I recently went back and played it, and it has some redeeming features. For example, the writing is actually pretty interesting. Um, pardon me. You guys continue with the topic. Someone's calling me right now. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So if anything, he-
Hello? No. Okay, I'm in the middle of a podcast right now, but I'll be up there in a little bit, okay?
That's it.
I
What
was
did you have
saying
another
that
game?
I was I was about to say that I felt that Mystic Quest seems like a okay game, but it doesn't feel like it deserve like it should be hated as much, though it's still hated as far as I can feel it.
The problem with the game is that they put Final Fantasy on it, and people were going in expecting it to be like Final Fantasy 2 in America or Final Fantasy 4 abroad. And you go into it and you realize this is an overly simplified game. Like you do have party members, but they are
They're out of your hands.
they're temporary. No, you can control them, but they're temporary. They're like in your party for a certain amount of time, then they go off and do something else. Kind of like another RPG that I
Like
hated
how
on
some of it
last year.
happens in 4.
No, I was gonna say how they do in Origami King. Like party members just join you and then they go away
Oh,
like you get new abilities and it's like it's just it just kind of it's like it's very overly simplified and made to be a little bit on the easy side. Now me, I don't really like really easy games. Um RPGs. Like for me, I like my RPGs to be kind of like that sweet spot of there's difficulty, there's grinding, but you get rewards for the difficulty and the grinding. Um I don't like games that are patronizingly easy that just make things way too damn easy just for the sake of being, easy for lack of a better term. I don't like that. That bothers me.
at least I could agree with you there.
Go away, you bother me. I don't like that. But like I said, going back and playing Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, and I realized that like okay, if like while I don't like the idea of them remaking Final Fantasy VII into an action game, if they took Final Fantasy Mystic Quest and remade that into an action game, that would actually make sense. Because Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, you only have one party member, so you could have an AI companion fighting alongside you. It's more of an action game because the dungeons are like you can avoid certain enemies, you go down paths, you get items and you get items on the in the outside world that let you traverse the dungeons, like an axe that lets you cut down trees, or like a dragon claw grappling hook thing that lets you uh, uh, like grapple to ledges and stuff. And I'm like, this would actually work really well as a like action game reimagining of an RPG. But that's just me. Um, it's and plus the music's actually pretty good in the game. Like the final the final like the battle music in the game's actually really good, and the final boss is typical RPG madness. You can actually cheese the guy who did the music for Final Fantasy Mystic Quest was a guy who it's got a completely different sound than the other SquareSoft RPGs of the time. And I like it. But it's just you have to go into it thinking, okay, this is not related to Final Fantasy. This is its own thing. And once you get past that, you just realize, okay, this is its own thing. It's not Final Fantasy, and then it's much easier to get into it. Anything else you guys want to add before we move on to the next topic?
I got a feeling we'll not see the last of those kind of games for a while, for some time.
What, good idea, poorly executed?
Yeah.
Speaking of, earlier I said those games have great music. For me, I can forgive a lot of stuff if a game has great music. I can forgive hard levels if there's good music while I'm getting my ass kicked. For example, Donkey Kong Country 2, one of my favorite platformers of the, well, I'm not going to say the 16-bit generation. I think Donkey Kong Country 2 is one of the best platformers of all time. But there's a series of levels in Donkey Kong Country 2 that take place in a bramble bush, and everything can kill you. Like, there are parts of the levels where you're in these barrels, and if you miss time activating these blast barrels, you'll careen into a wall of spiky brambles and die. And when people say, Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze are hard, I'm like, you don't know hard, Junior. Go play Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3, and then tell me hard, okay? At least in those games you have a life bar. Okay? You can take a few hits. One hit and you're done in those games. And if there's certain parts of the level where a certain character is better for traversing the environment or taking on certain enemies, and you don't have that character anymore, it's less like, well, I'm gonna have to die and start all over again. That's the only way I can get past this level. So, back to the Bramble Scramble levels. The Bramble Scramble levels had a song composed by David Wise. Well, it was composed by David Wise, who, major video game composer for Rare Limited, and called Sticker Brush Symphony, which, for such frustrating levels, Sticker Brush Symphony is a very soothing song. So it's like this really kind of
aggravating stunt that's joined to soothing music, right?
The soothing music helps you from just losing your shit and destroying a controller. Although one time I did totally destroy a controller playing Donkey Kong Country 2. Because that game, a lot of the levels are easy. Those bramble levels are just frustrating. Just so frustrating. When I was younger. Now that I'm older and I have more patience and I can really kind of take my time, do things right, it's not so bad. But when I was a kid, But good music can bring things around. So what are some games that have good music that you've played? You were like, wow, this music is much better than it has any business being. That stuck out to you.
Eastward. Eastward has some pretty good music.
Yeah, up here.
It's that's very just it's a mixture of modern instruments with chip tunes. Always a fan of that. They mix when somebody's able to bring those two things together.
Yeah, I have to agree. I have to agree. Eastward does have some good music. Jewel?
I said mine's already, but I I probably I probably didn't get heard, but I I was saying that the never mind. I probably probably am goofing up here.
All right. Well, I guess it's up to me. I actually have actually, I mean, I'm an audiophile, so as you guys know, I'm a huge audiophile. So,
Yeah.
um, like you know, like for me, music in a game can really, like, even a shitty game, if it has good music, I'll forgive a lot of sins. It's like Super Adventure Island. The music was done by Yuzo Koshiro. Um, and Super Adventure Island is actually a pretty good game. All of the songs in that game are banging. The original ActRaiser, all the music is done by Yuzo Koshiro. All the music in that game is banging. Um, and I mean, we already agree that Chrono Trigger has maybe some of the best music. I mean, it Chrono Trigger. I mean, I would have to say that Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, um, Lufia 2 maybe have some of the best 16-bit RPG music of all time. I would say the original Donkey Kong Country has good music. Donkey Kong Country 2 has better music. 3's music is okay. It's like they ran out of juice after those first two games. Um,
Um. And now I've and sorry it took me a bit, but I do remember that the that at times I remember some of the DK songs from the Donkey Kong Country. Those have some real bangers to me. I just remembered, so sorry about that.
no, no. I mean, those songs do like Jungle Japes, which is like the opening theme for Donkey Kong Country, like the very first level. That song is
Yeah.
so
So
iconic they reused it in Donkey Kong 64 for the jungle level.
so if
Um,
anything, I was going to say that the first the first level of Donkey Kong Country 2 actually was the better beat.
well, I mean, that's basically just a rehash of the theme for the final theme when you get to King K. Rool's ship. Except it doesn't go into the dark mode where it's like, oh, you're about to fight the final boss. Um, which is cool, I guess.
Yeah. But then again, the so far the Donkey Kong Country series at least gives you a great deal of head jammers to me. And I'm talking about the Return series and the original DK series from Rare.
Yeah, I didn't like the music in the new series as much as the original. I mean, I know a lot of them were like in the first game, a lot of them were like remixes of David Wise. In the second game, they brought back David Wise to do his own remixes. So like you go in some levels and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna hear Bramble Scramble. I mean, Sticker Brush Symphony, and I hear a remix of Sticker Brush Symphony, and I'm like, okay, I don't really like the remix as much as the new stuff, but overall, I thought it was still pretty good.
Yeah. And sorry to interrupt you on that, Red.
No, no, I'm glad when there's interaction. Um,
It just took me a bit to think about it.
no, I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. What I will say, however, is, I mean, like good music, like music can really make a game great. Like I'll tell you something that's shocking. I know a lot of people like Halo. I never liked the music of Halo. The gameplay I enjoyed. The music, I was like, this music can go
I
jump
was
out of
about
a
to
window.
say the music feels generic to me. Not not terrible, but generic.
Well,
And
it's like that operatic chant music, and I never liked operatic chant music. So
I think that's where you and I could agree on. We're not fans of opera, weirdly.
no, I'm okay with opera when it's done well. Like I remember one time when I was in seventh grade, we got a day off and we got to go see Faust, and I was like, this is awesome. And I've seen Carmen, um, uh, and
Um,
the Ballad of Figaro, the shit. I forgot the. It's not called the Ballad of Figaro. It's the Barber of Venice. You know, the one, like, if you were a kid and you're watching Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes, where it's like Figaro, Figaro, hey Figaro. Yeah, it's like yeah, I got to see that one. You know, the Wagner, Peter and the Wolf. Like I liked this the Nutcracker Suite. Like I like opera, but I
yeah,
don't want opera while I'm playing a damn shoot 'em up
that's
video game. You know, it's
that's the thing. Opera at times can sound out of place in some situations
you
to
know,
me.
opera, like, okay, if I'm playing a third person action game and I'm fighting a massive, like, I'm walking into a desecrated cathedral and I'm about to fight a demonic, evil, uber, devilized dragon, cue the opera. But if I'm running around shooting
Yeah.
people in the face in a first person shooter, opera just doesn't, this doesn't jive. Like, if I'm shooting people, I need to hear Doom music.
Yeah.
I need to hear Doom episode 1 level 1 theme music. Like that's how you know a first person shooter is money. Turn down the volume and put on the Doom theme music with a shotgun as your weapon. Does it feel good to shoot enemies in the face? Does the music pound while you're shooting motherfuckers in the face? Then it works. Even the new Doom games don't have that good music, in my opinion. They try too hard to be edgy and metal, and I'm like, dude, you didn't need to change anything. It's already edgy and metal. You're a Doom guy. You're fighting demons on Mars. Don't fuck it up.
Huh.
You're trying too hard. You're trying too hard.
Oh
Stop
yeah.
doing that. But yeah, great video game music. I think every generation we have some games that have great video game music. Like astonishingly good. Um,
Headbangers.
yeah, just stuff that you can just sit down and listen to. Like I think I put in the no, I didn't. Okay, I thought I did. There's this Chrono Trigger song that has been the Chrono Trigger opening has been redone in 80s
Remix.
style, and the shit sounds great. It's been remixed in an 80s style. They use like 80s instrument, 80s beats, and it
Dang.
sounds great. Yeah, good music can for me, a good music can bring a bad game up. You know, if you have a bad game plus the music is
Um,
shit, I'm like, there's no redeeming this.
I was gonna say that music is a category of its own because if anything, it music and music and like visuals are in the ears of the beholder or eyes of the beholder.
No.
At least for
Well,
me.
okay. For you, that may work for you. For me, there's been like, because for me, good music to a video game is like, it's like being around a really ugly woman, but her voice sounds sexy as hell. And it's like, you know,
Contradiction.
I'm probably, I might give you a shot because your voice sounds so sexy.
Mhm.
You know, or for women, a man who, he might not be the best looking dude, but he's got that deep type of bedroom voice. I mean, women like, hey, he's not that good, but his voice though, that voice, that voice is
Yeah.
so awesome. So
And
you
you
can
wonder why I said leave that in the eyes of the beholder.
you can forget. It's like, you know what? It's like, look, the dude's like a 5, but that voice is like a 9. You know, she's like a 6, but the voice is like an 8 or a 9. So I mean, for me, like, there's some games that are like, this game kind of sucks, but the music is banging. Like Chuck Rock. Chuck Rock is a terrible game, but the music is good. You know, Robocop 3. Robocop 3 is trash on everything it's on. The PC, Amiga, Commodore 64, Commodore 128, the NES. But man, the music is awesome. The music is so good. I would say just listen to the opening theme. It's pretty damn good. But speaking of things that are pretty damn good, we're going to talk about the opposite of that. Square Enix.
And their quest to reach $70.
Yeah, they're reaching for something. I wouldn't say it's $70. It's
Or
something.
balls.
So, I call it the Dookie stick. So they're essentially, their big thing is this. They are charging people $70 for 2 games that are coming to PC. And what are your guys' thoughts on that?
The reality is they want, you know, with the DLC and with special editions, they've been enticing people. They've been trying to entice people to pay more for games, pay more for the full product, not just paying more for extra stuff, but paying more for the full product.
For the base product, yeah.
And they're squeezing, and they want to squeeze a little more. They want to squeeze a little tighter.
Yeah, and my advice to anyone is don't buy this shit. Wait till the price drops.
Oh yeah, is that another reason I like PC gaming over console gaming? Is prices drop a lot faster.
Yeah, but I
Give
mean,
it a
like,
few months.
I'm gonna keep it real. If they had said, "Hey, this is gonna include the base game plus this shitty spin-off we did with Yuffie, a character that no one gives a shit about in Final Fantasy VII. No one cares about Yuffie. No one cares. She's not even interesting."
Yeah.
I was about to say the more interesting character to obtain, that'd be Vincent.
Vincent is cool. Sid is cool because he has that jump command. Barrett is, for his story, his backstory is kind of cool. I mean, hell, Kate Sith, who is also another fucking useless ass character, is more interesting than Yuffie. Why the fuck would you make a spinoff about a character that no one gives a shit about? But if they had included like it together in a package, no one would have said it. They said, "Hey, $70, fine." But $70 for just the base game that's only like 25% of the original game? The fuck out of here with that shit.
I was gonna say, I treat it like the Pokemon series, and F off.
But Kenoshi, you told me earlier that they aren't just doing this with Final Fantasy VII. They're doing this with
Forspoken. They're doing this with Forspoken. So, plan on waiting 3 to 6 months anytime a Square Enix games come out, because you know Final Fantasy, when that comes out, or Forspoken, give it about 3 months, it'll drop to like $40-$50. You'll probably get it on a sale or two.
yeah.
So the problem is a lot of people have backlogs that go back to September 1991. So I don't know why everybody's so in a hurry to get a new game.
Because people want it. People want it now. You know that song back in the day, you know, "You're Mr. Vane. I know what I want. I want it now." That's how people are. They know what they want. They want it now because they're Mr. Vane. They don't care. I mean, I personally wouldn't get this because I have the original. Like, why would I pay for a shoddier remake of a better game. But that's my own personal opinion. So, what do you guys think about this? I mean, do you think they're going to be able to pull this off? Because I don't.
I hope they don't.
Well, if we didn't go through a pandemic where the economies were shut down and inflation took over in combination with government printing more money and things being the things being
Disaster.
inflated to their 2 to 3 4 5 times their MSRP, this probably would have worked, but now probably not, because again, the inflation issue and the economic issue isn't just affecting this country, it's affecting the entire world.
Well, no, continue.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about that.
Okay, I'm going to dive in. Two things. First of all, the inflation issue is bullshit. There is no inflation. What it is, companies are raising their prices because they can. They were given an excuse to be able to do it, and that's what they're doing. Because they can, because they're greedy bastards. We want to make more money. Because the other indicators of inflation have not been going up, but other things that companies, they just want to rate. They want to charge more. Like kind of like how all these companies are like, well, it's going to be $70 to play these games on the PS5 and the Xbox on these ninth gen consoles. But isn't the code? I mean, roughly speaking, the base code for all these consoles is all being ported over from the development code, right? That's a question. Like, isn't all this code being developed from the development code, right?
I'm guessing.
Okay.
Makes me wonder what they're using for all that.
Well, the thing
Pure
is
gold.
that these current gen consoles, aside from the Switch, but even the Switch has a lot of PC architecture in it. But if you have a PS5 or an Xbox One Series, a Xbox, those are basically micro gaming PCs. There is these companies aren't spending more money to port. That's why these companies kept on saying, we need more power. We can't bring these games until we have more power. It wasn't about the power. It's because they don't want to do any optimization to get the shit to run well on a console. So if they have something that's basically like a PC, they don't have to spend as much time, energy, or money to port the shit over. They can just brute force it and get it to run. This is not costing these companies more money to put these games on these systems. They just want to charge more money because they're greedy. Okay? Okay? They want to make more money. They're greedy bastards. And on a personal note, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. If you want to charge $70 for your games, fine. But if you're going to charge $70 for your games should come with more. Like, if you're charging someone $70 for Final Fantasy VII, it should come with a manual.
Yeah.
It should come with a manual and soundtrack CD, or a download for the soundtrack that you can get digitally. I'll take either. You shouldn't just be, oh, here's the base game, $70, because come on, man. Y'all must think people are stupid. Or gullible, or a combination of both.
Yeah, I mean, they've done this before back in during the 7th gen.
Yeah.
I remember looking through a catalog and seeing games like on the Xbox 360 get raised to $60.
Yeah, because they used to be 50.
Before, and this was before the economy took a dump.
Yeah, they're just greedy.
2008. So,
they're just greedy. It's greed. They want to make more money.
And this was probably talked about even before the pandemic. So This was even, I think,
Yeah.
this was even talked about before with the.
Before the pandemic, they were saying the next gen games are going to be $70. They said that.
Yeah.
That's because they want to make
Yeah.
more money. Listen. Okay, fine. You want to make more money? Include more shit in your game. Because it doesn't cost them anything to have a download code for the digital soundtrack of their fucking games. If you buy them, that cost them nothing. Because they license out the music. It costs them nothing. This is just greed, okay? It's greed. Bastards. Anyway, speaking of bastards, the Game Awards. On that segue.
Oh boy. Oh my.
Isn't that a good segue? So
that was one of your worst segues I ever heard.
But it's appropriate, isn't it? So speaking of segues, talking about bastards, Jeff Keighley at the Game Awards. So speaking of a waste of time that I'm glad I was not privy to, the Game Awards. Like, some people are upset that Nintendo didn't show up at the Game Awards. I can't say I really blame them. You know, considering
The Game Awards was a joke.
I'm trying not to laugh because if anything, I only listened to that.
I didn't even listen to the Game Awards.
I just only listened it.
I didn't even listen to the Game Awards.
Boring as ever.
Like, let me put it this way, okay? For me, a lot of the 9th gen of Nintendo's 9th gen, I would say the first 2 years of the Switch's life cycle, they were doing really well. Then once the second year kind of hit, they kind of started fucking up a little bit, in my opinion. But here's the thing. Even with all the fucked up shit Nintendo's been doing the last 2.5, 3 years, I still would say kudos for them for not showing up to this bullshit this year. Because what a fucking waste.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it. I tried. I was gonna stream a little bit of it before going to bed. God, but I was just like, I can't. I
just couldn't do it.
Turned it on. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't take all the
bullshit
commercials.
Yeah.
I couldn't take all the they can't find this happy medium. They want to be taken seriously, but at the same time they want to embrace the nerd, the all this nerd shit. I was like, do it either way. Either embrace the nerd shit and have fun with it, or take yourself seriously. But quit trying to straddle this line between being taken seriously and embracing the wackiness of gaming.
They can't, because Jeff Keighley is the Dorito Pope. And Dorito Pope, look, Jeff Keighley is worried about the sponsors and making sure that they're making enough money to turn a profit for his event. Okay? And as a business person, yeah, you don't want to lose money on an event. But like I remember Jeff Keighley did this kind of moody mouth bullshit, talking this vague speech in the beginning of the Game Awards, talking about, we need to respect people in our industry. Who are you talking about? Oh, Activision Blizzard, one of the people on your board of your fucking funky little game award show. I mean, it's just like, it's such bullshit. It's such bullshit.
The thing is, I'd even tried to only listen to it, and it was kind of confusing to me.
Yeah. They had commercials every 5 seconds. It's like, I just wish they just embraced gaming for what it is, rather than we need to be taken seriously like the Oscars. It's like, nobody wants that.
No, because you don't have, because you guys don't have the credit to be taken seriously like the Oscars. I mean,
not only
especially with how you try to swing people saying that your vote matters, and yet where does 90% of the vote come from?
Well, 90% of the vote is a popularity contest, and then it can be shifted by the people who are on the voting board. which are industry
Um,
executives and industry
I'm sorry,
insiders.
I have to stop you there.
No,
That's
it's bullshit.
because
It's all
that's in
bullshit.
reverse.
It's all
I was
because
saying it's reversed because 90% of it is by the people at the board, which is the people that are
so
basically
their
hyping
votes are that so the
with
people on the board's votes are that weighted that the popularity contest doesn't even really bring in a factor.
yeah.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I thought that it was like 60%. It was weighted toward like 60% was weighted towards the people voting, and then the other 40 was the board. They could swing it either way, but either way, it doesn't fucking matter because I mean, let's keep it real. Most of the people who are casual and voting in this shit, you know, it's like people saying this is a good movie. Why is the movie good? Well, I just like watching it. That doesn't make a movie good because you like fucking watching it. A game isn't good just because you like playing it. You know, there needs to be some standards, like Kanoshi said earlier. You know, okay, is this game is a well tuned product? Is it well balanced? You know, is the difficulty curve extrapolated?
Well tuned.
You know, are the physics of this 2D platformer well defined? No.
So, that's the problem. Most people aren't. See, that's the thing. That's a different show. Like, you know, most people aren't thinking about that. Most people aren't sitting around talking about the physical or discussing the physics and the coding and the difficulty, and is the difficulty fair in the sense that the game isn't, like the game just isn't cheap. Like, for example, the enemies aren't just bullet sponges. They're actually slightly smarter. They do
Yep.
different things as you
Mhm.
increase the difficulty.
And if
Like,
that
for
was
example,
no, go ahead.
for
Sorry.
example, for example, Halo 3, when you go up to higher difficulties, the enemies do more things. Like, they'll have jetpacks, so
They
you'll
get
have to worry.
smarter. Yeah.
They get smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, so, I mean, most people, a lot of people aren't really thinking about that sort of thing.
They just
They're
like, I
just
like
thinking,
playing this and it's
well,
fun to me.
all my friends are playing Halo Infinite, so that's game of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was surprising that It Takes Two got Game of the Year.
Oh, it's funny. Just
I was
because
like,
of the lawsuit.
oh man, yeah, because Take Two's gonna be mad about that. They're like, you sons of bitches. But as I was saying, the Game Awards had some game announcements, and there were two games in the list that I thought were pretty interesting. Now I'm
Best
ignoring
RPG.
what?
I was guessing which one was that caught your attention. I guess best RPG.
No, I said game announcements. They were announcements of games that were coming. The best
Oh.
RPG was Tales of Arise. And I found that out after the fact. I really don't give a shit because I have that game and I would not call it the best RPG of the year. No, it's okay. It's not the best RPG of the year. No, I saw the more gameplay footage of Tunic, which looks like Legend of Zelda with a fox, where Link is a fox, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, this reminds me of what the Legend of Zelda games used to be before the production value got too high and they kept on trying to reiterate on shit instead of doing something different. And I thought it was pretty good. Now, I didn't watch this during the thing. I saw the announcement afterwards and I'm like, this looks pretty good. Of course, this was announced last year, so nothing really new about that. So, but if you're a fan of like 2D Legend of Zeldas, then Tunic might get your goat.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I love a good game.
yeah. I was like, this looks like a Legend. Like literally, they were like, we want to make a Legend of Zelda game, but we'll never get those rights. So we'll just take everything else and just turn the character into a anthropomorphized fox.
Yeah.
And then, you know what? I'm like, good for you, because I mean, Breath of the Wild didn't really do much for me. after playing it for a while, after beating it like 3 times, and that Link's Awakening remake was just disappointing.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I never even played the original. I just thought I thought that they could have done more to it,
Well,
added more to it, but
Well, the thing is, the original Link's Awakening is the
Game
thing.
Boy game.
Yeah, the thing that makes the original Link's Awakening so amazing is that they basically took the gameplay concepts from Link to the Past and transported it to a limited handheld. The problem is that the Switch is a hybrid console. You don't have the same level of limitation. So bringing it to a console that has that much hardware power and that many features is like, why?
Honestly, the limitation wouldn't have bothered me as much if they would have charged like $20-$30 for it instead of $60.
I mean, $39.99
Yeah.
would have been the sweet spot for me. Charging someone $60 for what is essentially, and the thing is, they didn't even fix the ending. You still get that downer of a shitty ending, for Link's Awakening, which I'm just like, couldn't even fix that, huh? Oh well. The Windfish has all these powers, but can't turn this little girl, this young lady, into like make her actually come to life and turn her into a fucking bird. You're a dick. The Windfish is a dick. And then they showed off Sonic the Hedgehog, Breath of the Wild, Sonic Frontiers. It looks like Sonic Team basically said, we're gonna put Sonic into a Breath of the Wild format. It's probably gonna be shit.
The Legend of Mobius, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's probably going to be shit, except this time when Sonic makes out with a princess, it'll actually make sense.
Hopefully the princess this time is an anthropomorphic animal instead of a human.
I don't know. The girl from
weird.
The girl from 2006 looked ugly as shit too. Like, she was not attractive. I'm like, okay, if you're gonna have a chick, like going with a dude, could you have the chick look good? Because she had that weird shaped head, and her eyes were too far apart, so it looked like she was wall-eyed a little bit. I'm like, I know y'all think.
She had anime eyes, huh?
Yeah, but not in a good way. Like, I've seen anime chicks that were attractive, like Fujiko Mine in Lupin the Third. Yeah, she's anime, but she's attractive. This bitch in Sonic 2006, the princess, she was not good looking at all. I'm like, why the fuck would y'all ship this bullshit around? But they did. But of course, I was not looking at Fujiko Mine's face. No one looks at Fujiko Mine's face. Not at first. But yeah, so Sonic Frontiers looks like they're totally ripping off Breath of the Wild. That looked interesting to me, just because they were ripping off Breath of the Wild. I mean, come on, man. They're ripping off Breath of the Wild. I mean, come on. And I'll tell you what was a surprise for me. Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. Now, here's where this is really surprising. The last game that this Space Marine came out 10 years ago when THQ was still around. It was published by THQ. Yeah. So the fact that this game we're finally getting a sequel now, and let's not forget, I actually had the original game on the PS3 and I enjoyed it, but it ends on a huge cliffhanger. So basically, we've been sitting here blue balls about this character, what was going to happen for a decade. For a decade. Can you believe that shit?
How did they leave those blues?
Oh, well, the blue balls are still blue because it's not coming out till next year.
Oh.
I've heard decent things about that game.
Yeah, I mean,
the first game.
The problem with the game is that it came out in 2010 and it played like a first-person shooter that was released 5 years earlier. So it was kind of like aged.
It's
Like
dated.
in the part of the gameplay, it was aged. But I mean, if you like playing old shooters, that ain't no thing, you know. I mean, I personally like playing old games, so playing old shooters didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
But for some people, that was like, you know, it's not like every other, you know, I don't like how the Marine. It's like, yeah, but you have to remember the Warhammer Space Marines are the original Space Marines. Like they're the original template of badass Space Marines in mech armor and chain swords and shit. So
I remember, I remember people when they first showed that game. It's like they're ripping off Gears of War. It's like, no,
wrong.
it's the other way around. It's
Yeah,
the other way around.
Gears of War is ripping them off. Almost every StarCraft, Gears of War, like Aliens, like so much shit has ripped off Warhammer 40K Space Marines. It's ridiculous.
The lore of Warhammer is interesting to me.
Yeah, it's a grim, dark, shitty universe. Like I would not want to live in that universe.
Yeah.
And they showed off some Saints Row footage. They're releasing a new Dune real-time strategy game, so the spice must flow. Spice Wars, which is cool. And a new RPG from Spiders. I mean, like nothing they really showed off was really was shit that I really cared about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Apparently, they're making a Wonder Woman game, and I guess it's using that Nemesis system that, you know, and some of the problem with companies patenting their, you know, these particular systems is that nobody else could use them, so nobody else is going to be able to improve upon them, which is just kind of annoying.
Well, I mean, they just can't call it that. They gotta change it. They gotta change it slightly enough that it's not the same thing. Or they could reverse engineer it and then do it themselves. Because commercially, you can do that. You can reverse engineer someone else's code, and then sell the reverse engineered version of that if you so choose.
I don't. But honestly, I just even if it was like a open source thing, I don't really see a lot of these companies implementing something like that in their games.
No, because it would take a lot of effort. You'd actually have to come up with interesting ideas to have a nemesis system, and companies don't want to do that. They ain't about that shit. They ain't got time for that. They want to do the least amount of work and get paid the maximum amount of return.
Just climb up another tower to reveal the copious amounts of busy work that you'll have to do.
Yeah, basically. I mean, the thing that bothers me is that it's from the same studio that Warner Brothers basically had in the second game that turned into a microtransaction mess, and now they're doing it with Wonder Woman, and they're probably going to do the same damn thing. And I'm like, first of all, I don't want to play a game with Wonder Woman in it. Not because I'm a misogynist and I don't think women can beat the shit out of people, but because I don't particularly give a fuck about Wonder Woman as a character. Mostly because I know too much about the characters, like the guy who created Wonder Woman and her weaknesses and special abilities. Like, I mean, I really don't want to play a game where the female character's weakness is getting tied up S&M style by her villains.
TMI.
No, that's her. That was one of her original weaknesses from her comic book creator. Of course, the guy who created the character was
thinking about
was kind of one of those people who was into kinky
pervert.
Sex like that. Well, I won't say he was a pervert, but he was kinky. Like he lived with two women and they were into some kinky stuff. It's kind of weird. Wonder Woman, that all these female characters, she's a female icon. It's like she was created by a man who was into really kinky sex. As a matter of fact, her original weakness was if you tie her up and get her some S&M shit, she's powerless. Oh no, I can't. I'm half god. I can lift mountains, but You tied me up, and I'm powerless. I'm like, God
I
damn.
mean, they're
Yeah,
they're I mean
that could have been
they're
done better.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the gods did have weird weaknesses, like the guy who loses his power when you pick him up. If you're able to pick him up.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Brontes, the giant. But I mean, it made sense for Brontes because he was a son of one of the Titans, which meant that the Earth itself, he was blessed by the Earth itself. So as long as he was in contact with the Earth, he had the strength of the Earth. He was darn near unstoppable. That makes sense. It doesn't make sense that Wonder Woman she has a strength level that is damn near comparable to Superman these days. But if you tie her ass up, she's out.
I mean, you can't. So does it have to be a special
No,
growth, or does
just
it
tie her up.
anyone-
Just as long as you tie her up, she's done. She's out of it.
Weird.
It's
weird.
stupid.
I could see if it was like, I can see if it was like a particular elemental thing.
No,
but it's just, just tie her up.
just tie her up. Yeah. But she's a great feminist icon, folks. She really is. That second movie they made where she like rapes a guy. She makes a wish on a magic stone that puts her dead lover into the guy's body, and she rapes him. She rapes a guy, but she's such a feminist icon. So no, I have no interest in playing a Wonder Woman video game.
I don't know.
Not really interested. Don't care,
Yeah.
not interested. Now if they can make a good Superman game, I might. But ironically, the best Superman game, the best DC game I've played is Lego Batman 2. Because it lets you do what I've always wanted to do in a DC video game. Like when you're Superman and you fly around Gotham City, it plays the John Williams Superman score, and when you're Wonder Woman, it plays the Wonder Woman score from the 70s, which is all I really wanted. I don't really give a shit about all that other bullshit. I just want to fly around listening to John Williams score. Yeah, I can't do that with the other game. They just keep on fucking it up. If you're Batman, can I at least listen to the Danny Elfman score? No. AKA the theme from the animated series? No, can't do that. We got to add all this weird shit. Anyway.
And one of the problems with a lot of the announcements is that they were just CGI trailers.
Yeah.
No gameplay.
Yeah. Or
no gameplay.
Or announcements of shit that that was supposed to come out this year and got pushed back to next year. That's all it is. It's a lot of we already knew about this. Why are you? So really, or announcements of fucking DLC or expansions of shit that's already out. So I'm like, once again, we're having the same issue that we had with E3. A lot of this could have just been in a little teaser. Like they didn't have to have a big event for this.
No, I mean, if you're not gonna expand upon what you're announcing, I don't know, why are you even there? This could have just been a tweet.
Yeah, or just
trailer.
go on all these companies have YouTube channels. They could have gone on YouTube and done this shit.
Some of these games aren't coming out until 2023. Alan Wake 2. It's like, why show this off? Why not wait until E3 2022?
To drum up hype. to get it on people's radar, that's what.
I'm tired of people having CGI trailers that aren't coming out until next year or 2 years. And the next thing you know, you're waiting 5 years for the game.
Yeah.
How many times has this happened?
Well, I mean, considering... No, sorry, go ahead.
Going back to 2015 with Sony's press conference. The winners, the darlings of 2015, Sony. One of their big announcements was Final Fantasy VII Remake. 1, again, it didn't come out until several years later, 5 years later. 2, you only got the first third of the game.
Not even the first third, the first quarter. And I'm being charitable.
First quarter.
I'm being charitable with the first quarter.
So, I don't get it. Joel, wake up.
Nah, it's too late.
Joel, wake up.
Let's wrap things up here.
I'm sorry. I was honestly waiting so long.
No, that's okay. Let's wrap stuff up here. Basically, the Game Awards was a big fucking waste of time, and frankly, I mean, you know, Dorito Pope couldn't save it. I mean, this has not been a great year for gaming.
No, that's it. It was lackluster.
I mean, there were a few bright spots here and there, but by and large, it has not been a good year for gaming. Because basically, we've been shown behind the curtain and seen how the sausage is made, and we found out the sausage isn't being made from bits and pieces of leftover bits. They're killing people and putting them in the sausage. They're feeding you people sausage.
Yeah, that's a little TMI there.
So, you know, it's just not good. You know, like the GTA Definitive Edition came out, it was shit. You know, Cyberpunk, all the shit that should have been in Cyberpunk when it launched everything keeps on getting pushed back. Like, this has not been a good year for gaming. You know, shit getting delayed, shit getting pushed back. It's just not good. And the only thing I can say is
hope for 2022.
No hope for 2022. Get your own. Just find happiness where you can.
I at least have hope for 2022.
Find happiness where you can. Make your own
happiness. Things aren't gonna really start popping until 2023.
You know, because all these
that's what's gonna happen.
All these consoles just did not have. Were kind of pushed out. They were kind of shut out, and
I mean, they're still coming out with PS4 games next year.
Yeah, because the PS4 has over 100 million units sold.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I mean, you can hear everybody on Twitter and Facebook and all these social media sites, because they don't understand the reality of things, bitching about how people just need to upgrade. They're holding these new consoles back. Well, for one, you can't find one, and for two, there's 100 million of them. Maybe squeeze a little bit more cash out of them.
No, it's just it has nothing to do with holding it back. It's the fact that if you have an audience, if you have an audience of a potential audience of 100 million people playing a device versus a potential audience of 20 million, and the PS5 doesn't have 20 million units out there in America, maybe worldwide, but not in America. Yeah, you're going to still cater to the 100 million. Are you fucking insane? That's just business 101.
Yeah.
And anyone telling you any differently is insane. But with that being said, let's wrap things up. Anything you guys want to pimp out before we call it a night?
Project Console, Tuesday, 7:30, Standard Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about the winners of the Game Awards, as well as the announcements that were made, and some other news.
All right. Joel?
I'll do. With me having nothing else, but I'll do this one. Thank you for joining us for the BS Busters in the Week podcast. You can contact us in the description below. We have email, we have Discord, we have Twitter, all that kind of stuff. But remember to like and subscribe.
All right. This is Mr. Red Fox. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor BS Busters. If you want to get in touch, everything's in the description. You can join our podcast. You can join our Discord. You can join our Twitter. You can reach me via Gmail. Everything's in the description section. With that being said, peace, good night, and
hype responsibly.
Peace. we didn't do our asshole of the